Yeah, you know what? I like the players. No diggity, no doubt. Play on, play it. Play on, play it. Yo, Dre, drop the verse.
Welcome back to the Inward Nine, a fantasy golf metrics production. My name is Jeff Ulrich. Welcome back to the podcast, people. It's Players Week. Recap the Wells Fargo here. Talk about some stuff doing the players, obviously. The players field, fantasy, bets, one and done stuff. Joining me as always, Stephen Richter of Fantasy Golf Metrics, co-founder. If you have not checked out Fantasy Golf Metrics, make sure you do this week. $5 for a weekly membership. Really, really good deal, in my opinion. One of the best deals out there in the entire industry. Really, really good price, too, for a yearly membership. Includes lineup builder, a bunch of other tools that I can't even, it's too many to list. Bets for the week, every week, too, which we are very positive on so far for the IRY. And we actually positive last week, too, even though Steve wasn't quite sure until I reminded him. But, Steve, how did you enjoy the Wells Fargo, and how much are you looking forward to the players?
Well, I liked Wells Fargo because, I mean, if you remember last week, just heading in, I like the course. It's a really good field. I think you get to see where a lot of players are as we head into kind of the peak of the year, which is obviously this week, which is one of my favorite events, one of my favorite courses. I love it. I know there's a kind of a love-hate around the tour and around fans with the course. I think everyone loves people or loves the quality of the field, obviously, alongside like the PGA Championship. It's going to have mostly all of the top 100 players in the world in it. But, this is the best time of the year. It's really, outside of that week where you have the Masters, this is that next start where I feel like you're really starting off the major season. And, I'm not too interested in having the fifth major. Should it be a major, whatever debate. I mean, it's a great event. It's one of the greatest fields in the world. It's a great course. It's always a lot of fun down the stretch because of the 16th, 17th, and 18th. I'm okay with leaving it at that. I don't need to get into that debate, but we can definitely discuss the merits of the event. What are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I love this event. I mean, you're right. It's kind of dumb to just who cares if it's a major or not? I mean, they're never going to change it to be a major. At least they're probably not going to. So it's really kind of pointless to discuss it, isn't it? I mean, the one thing for me is I just feel like the event does get overlooked sometimes because maybe we'll talk about this later. We can just talk about it now. But I mean, this is strength of field wise. It's one of the hardest, if not the hardest event to win every year. So, whether you call it a major or not, it needs to get respect. Like some people are like, oh, the players, whatever, it's TPC Sawgrass. I don't even care about the course. I mean, it's not very often you get a full field event like this with this type of strength of field. So to me, it's always one of the best events of the year for sure. I don't really care if they call it a major, but definitely a good event.
So, yeah, I mean, you alluded to it in the open. We'll get back to Wells Fargo real quick just to recap, but completely forgot we had DeChambeau in the top 5 category. I was so upset because, I remember I originally wanted to play him to win, and I'm obviously, I guess somewhat glad I didn't because he didn't end up winning, but I saw him make that charge, and I'm like, you know what, I can't believe this is going to happen to me again. Another guy that I had a week prior not get it done. So, when you reminded me there, on the bets, we just broke a little positive, just above even. I think you're going to see some changes to the format. We talked before we came on about how we're going to go. We're going to go back to, I think, focusing more on just the top 5s, top 10s, and the outrights. But listen, it's if the worst, if I'm feeling bad about how we've done the last, say month, and really we're just a little down, it's not too bad. I mean, for the year we're still up a ton, so I'm looking to come back pretty strong with going back to the roots on how we kind of started earlier in the year.
Yeah, I mean, before the pod, Steve was crying, "Oh man, why didn't I take Uline like top 5 too?" And blah blah blah. And then he's like, "And I missed Bryson." And I'm like, man, Bryson we had him on top 5, so yeah.
Listen, that's part of the problem. Like I said, it's about card size. I kind of said that on Twitter a couple of weeks back. I think when we started adding the top 20s, the card size starts creeping up to 16, 20 bets, and you really need to kind of do better than I think should be expected when it comes to golf wagering when you're trying to recoup 20 units. I think when we were in that 10 to 14 unit spot and you hit on a top 5, you hit on a top 10, all you needed is 1 to hit to get all that money back, and then if you hit 2, it was a huge week, and that's where we had a lot of success. I think people started talking about the top 20s, and it made it more approachable for people. It's not what we've had the most success with. So I kind of strayed away, and we're going to get back to our roots this week.
That's what we call a good beat, finding money that you didn't know you had. So I'll talk about a bad beat at the Wells Fargo for me, because I made a ton of bad bets last week, but I made one really good one because I bet Aaron Wise at 100-1 after round one. I don't know why he was still 100-1. He was like one off the lead, but I bet him big because I'm like, this could be the bet that gets me back to even. And luckily I did bet him each way. So I mean, I still made actually, like, it broke me even for the week, thankfully, because he finished top 4. But like, I'm going down the stretch. He played so well, making par saves. Jason Day on 17th hole. I don't care what the announcers say. That ball was gone if it doesn't hit the flag. And just to give you some evidence that it was gone, John Peterson, the golfer who was in that event, he went on Twitter and said he hit the exact same shot earlier in the day, except his didn't hit the pin and it went in the water. So that's how lucky Jason Day got on 17, just so people know, because that was double bogey all over it if that does not hit the pin.
Yeah, I mean,
and man,
I think about a shot like that, and there's two ways to think about it. There's, well, listen, it's sometimes it's lucky, but I guess in theory, if you're aiming for the pin, let's assume he was, then you can't call him too lucky because he excelled so much in one direction. It's like the difference of having extremely accurate driver of the ball and somebody that hits that really, really far. Sometimes one of the two can overcome the issues on the other one. So I guess in theory we can say he aimed it there and he hit it perfectly in the middle, but I don't know that, you can give him that. It's just, they made it sound like no big deal. Oh, it would have been in the back of the green. Get out of here. That was, I don't know about water, but yeah, it would have been flirting with it. Absolutely.
It would have been close. Yeah. But, no, I mean, it actually wasn't a bad shot. The hole was kind of set up stupidly, I guess, because you couldn't really stop the ball if you hit it there, which, I mean, he hit like 30, 40 yards before the pin, but it was still cooking.
It hit like Tom Watson's hit on the 18th in the Open Championship, like a little bit on a downslope. Like, it looked perfect. It was probably exactly where he wanted to hit it, but just the way it landed, it hit down and it kind of just scooted out on him. Yeah,
it was kind of a dumb hole, but I mean, because he did, like, he pured it. Like, it wasn't a bad shot or anything. Like, that's what he was trying to do. It's just the way the hole was set up. So it wasn't that bad a beat, but it did kind of suck because anyways, who cares? It's Wells Fargo. I'm looking forward to this week. So any other things about the event you want to talk about?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, really pumped about having Uline. He's a guy that I feel like a couple of times I've said, hey, I think it might be time, and went in on him last week, took him in the bets, took him in DFS, and he paid some really strong dividends. Other than that,
that was a crazy round. I mean, 62 on that course.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
impressive.
I'm looking at the field strength that we're going to get into in a little bit, and the Quail Hollow. I mean, it's not like it's not a major or anything, but there's in the top. Let's say I have over the last decade, 400 events. There's a couple from Quail Hollow that are in the top like 100, top 50 or so. I mean, it's a good field and it's a great course, and I think you generally get great champions there. You see Day, you see Rory, you see Ricky, you got Tiger, you got a lot of big time winners. Phil, or I can forget. No, Phil just like a bunch of like seconds, right? We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
But
don't forget about Derek Ernst.
Oh, I mean, classic Ernst. I was reading an article about that as the event was starting, and he hasn't had like a top 25 like since that win. Something crazy.
No, he's still grinding out a living on the web.com. I mean, credit to him. He's not like the worst player in the world, but the season after he had that win, he literally like missed every cut.
Yeah.
I think he made like one cut. Like, it was brutal. So
outrageous.
That year was so ridiculous too, because the greens were so shot. Like, they were so terrible that none of the players could.
Well, that's how he got in, because he was an alternate from a web.com event, and he got in because so many guys were getting out of it because of the greens.
That's right. So, yeah, no, it's kind of one of those. It's an interesting factoid, anyways, in golfing history that year. But anyways, let's move on to the players, because I mean, this is a big event. We should give it our focus. Just before we do, just to, let people know, if you're not a subscriber yet and you haven't signed up for a FanDuel account, you can get a Fantasy Golf Metrics subscription by going to FanDuel, fanduel.com/FGM. It's a new subscriber offer. You can check it out there. It's really, really cool. You can get a full year membership at Fantasy Golf Metrics. So do check that out. It's on the articles on the Fantasy Golf Metrics site too. So shout out to that. Just a reminder to people too, if you're playing one and done contests, full one and done capabilities on Fantasy Golf Metrics. It's literally the best interface I've seen anyways. You can still switch over to it. You can start contests too in the middle of the season if you want. So just a reminder there. But let's move on to the players. TPC Sawgrass. It was kind of remodeled last year. They did the whole 12th as a drivable par 4. It was kind of a letdown, to be honest. There wasn't that many people going for it. But they put in new greens last year. It was a little bit volatile. It seemed even a little bit more volatile last year than it usually is. Siwoo Kim, I just remember just waiting for this guy to, make a mistake, do something dumb, and let Louis or Poulter in, and it just never happened. He just dominated. So I don't know, man. Any thoughts from Siwoo from last year about the course?
No, it was crazy to see that happen. I think when he was like 750 to 1.
Yeah.
It was interesting because he has that talent. I don't know. I don't mind him, the way he's been playing. Obviously, been playing extremely well as of late. But yeah, it's not who you expect to win. I mean, there aren't that many surprise winners. I mean, you had, what's the guy that had he chipped in? I forget one.
Craig Burks.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's one of the go-to kind of ones. But that's not who's going to win this week. I don't think so. It's not going to happen. I mean, there's just too many really good players playing well. It's the same kind of argument that we were making for the Masters. I mean, I think we're going to see a great season of high-end golf in the premier events. I don't think we're going to have any of those types of scenarios. Not like it couldn't happen, or that it's. I don't even think it's bad for the game. I mean, people talk about how it's not as exciting. It doesn't bother me. I don't see it happening. The talent pool at the top is so good, and so many people are trying to make their mark in history, I guess you'd say, or pad their resume. That you expect to see Tiger, Phil, Sergio, Matt Kuchar. Those are the types of guys that I'm going to see this week. Yeah,
I mean, the one thing I'll say, this venue, it really does. It gets to everyone. It gets to the top end players. It gets to it really. I mean, last year was just such a bad year for it because we saw so many blowups. It seemed like, but TPC Sawgrass favors no one. That's kind of why I like it. It can be volatile. Sometimes it'll lead to some strange results, but maybe we'll see it again. Maybe we won't. But I kind of agree. I think we'll see at least a couple of the elite players really get into contention here, maybe win. But as far as DFS wise or fantasy or betting, whatever, it's a tee to green course. Accuracy over power off the tee for sure. So I mean, it's ball striking, but it's not necessarily a course where you just hit back and hit as far as you can. Solid driving can help, but I mean, you've got to be accurate too, because if you start to get too wayward, I mean, it's not just water, but it's trees, it's thicker rough. It makes your approaches into smaller greens hard, which just throws you off for the rest of the hole. So you've got to place the ball in the fairway here. I mean, it's also a game a place where you need a good short game. I mean, since 2012, no one's ranked worse than 12th in scrambling for the week. So you need to get up and down. It's just like an all-around test, and it's like whoever just keeps their head for the longest usually ends up winning. So anything to add for course-wise?
No, I mean, you're right on. I mean, we have driving accuracy. This is basically as high as we would go with driving accuracy. We have it at 10% of our model. It's as big as we'll go. I always loved this event. I had a call, and not like it cares, but Spieth, he finished second in 2015 or 2014. And then the next year, it was like one of the first times I said, you know what, we're going against him, fading Spieth, and it was a big win because he was popular. He, obviously he's like the golden boy. He played well the year before, but he is not accurate off the tee, and he was extremely inaccurate off the tee at that point in time. And he missed the cut, and it was huge for us because he was extremely high owned, and it just goes to show. I mean, the volatility, because even you can be a great player. Listen, it's not like he didn't play well, but he hasn't made the cut since. It's just one of those courses where if you're a great player and you have a good week, you'll play well. But if it's not to your skills, more often than not, if you don't drive the ball well, it doesn't matter how good you are at everything else, because there's just too much trouble. I mean,
there's too much trouble. You'll make eights. It's just. I've
seen Tiger hit it left into, what is it? I want to say it's like 11 or 14 or one of those holes where he just it's a course that it favors missing right a little bit, which is why he's had some success. He can kind of go there, but it's you're one swing away on every hole from being Sergio at the Masters this year.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I mean that's it's a good comparison because you're exactly right about that. Yeah, it's interesting, Speed 2014, because I remember fading him at Augusta that year just for DFS, and it was mainly just because of ownership. He was like 35% owner or something, and then I came back at the players, and I'm like, yeah, no, you need to get back on him, and it was 2015, I think, and that's the year he missed the cut. And of course, I still think it's a pretty good setup for Spieth if he can get the ball in the fairway, like you said. But trying to predict when Jordan Spieth's going to have a good week off the tee is actually kind of infuriating, to be honest. So in a way, it sets up well for Spieth. In a way, it actually doesn't. So I don't know. I guess you could kind of say that about almost any other player in the field. But we'll get more into the actual field debate here as we go.
Well, that is the thing. I mean, there's generally every week, getting off the tee is it's not as big a deal outside of raw power. I mean, there are some quirky weeks, so it's like you never have to think about it, but you just do this week. I mean, it's most weeks the guys are so good, whether it's putting, whether it's approach, scrambling, that if they're average off the tee, everything else, they can win with it. But here, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not like you have to. It's like you said. It's not like you have to be the longest hitter and like hit it out 300 in the middle of fairway. But you have to stay away from trouble, and you have to know where to place it, right? So it's and that's kind of why where experience builds in too. I mean, even Siwoo before his win, he was T23 here the year before, so he played here before. But before him, all the winners of the last 12 winners, I think, or 11 winners, they had at least a T16 at the course. So the trends are really that guys who've played here before know what they're doing. Nowhere to miss.
So two things real quick, because you did post it right away early in the week. The average winner on tour 295 driving distance. The average winner here 287. 66% on tour, almost 69% here.
Yeah, no, and I mean the driving distance, driving accuracy thing for sure. And then, I mean the other thing that we kind of mentioned off the top, we'll just bring it back now, is, I mean, strength of field wise. Is this actually tougher to win than most of the majors for you? Or like, do you have data that kind of skews you to one way or the other in that argument?
Yeah, well, again, and I think, I had a comment with Data Golf on there. There's a different conversation between strength of field and difficulty of winning. There's a couple other factors there. But, if we're going to talk about strictly field, which I think is easier to quantify, there's a lot less variables there. Yes, I mean, we have a little bit of our own kind of formula to rank based on, the world ranking, the FedEx Cups, prior winners, major winners, things like that. We kind of do this calculation for every single event. We've been doing it for the last, since we have data, which is back to 2003 essentially. So you figure 40 events a year, 13 years, it's almost, it's 500 plus events. And, it's all the majors and the players. Five of the top 30 most difficult events on tour over the past decade are the players. So when you do the math, that's 1 out of 5, every 5, one of the top, there's 5 majors, right? So there's 4 majors in the players. It's harder than some of the majors. It's easier than some of them, but it's right up there. It's no question. I mean, I don't think that's going to surprise anyone, but it is something, like you said, there is actual data that shows. It's not just people saying it's the best field or it's difficult to win. It is. I mean, you want to look at it based on world ranking. You want to look on career wins. Anything like that. Any way you slice it, it matches up with a major in terms of quality of competition.
Right. All right. No, I mean, I think that's dead on. Again, we trying to give this event some credit, so I mean, it deserves it. But let's move into the field. Let's dive into it and start with the hot takes, because that's what people are here for. So, I mean, as far as field wise, obviously, we can start with, and we'll start with talking about them right off the top. But, bombers like Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson, not really had success here. Dustin actually had his best finish ever here last year. I think it was like T16. For you personally, especially like from a DFS angle, do you think it's worth chancing these guys at lower ownership this week? Like, do you feel like the upside is enough there to go with the lower ownership? Because they don't necessarily have to win, because the pricing is soft, especially on DraftKings. But like, do you think like they're going to be able to even if they don't win, which they're probably not going to, because quite frankly, it just doesn't seem to work for them here. But do you feel like you'd still take one or both of them or another bomber like them, just to go with their like sort of eagle or birdie bonus that they might give you?
Well, I wouldn't call it a bomber, but just since we're being specific, I do like Dustin Johnson early in this week from what I'm looking at. I didn't think I would going into it, just knowing kind of like what you just said and knowing, he did finish decent here last year, and he's kind of had a spotted pass, but if I'm taking that out and the things I'm already looking at and where he's been this season compared to where I think people would like him to be, I think we might be close to seeing him get back to where we expect to see him, and it might be this week. I mean, would it surprise anyone if DJ added this to his resume with everything he has going on? I don't think so, but maybe this week, just because, again, there's a lot of other guys and it's not his forte course. But yeah, this is definitely a week. Again, 10-3 for DJ. That's about as cheap as you're going to get him for a while, probably.
That's the thing. It's really cheap. He did finish here. I'll give people the exact fin. He's actually T12 last year, and he's actually his last 2 visits to TPC Sawgrass has been T12, T28, and those are his best results by far. So he's gone T12, T28, T69, T59, withdraw. Didn't play in 2012. I think that was the ski jet or some crap, right?
Yeah.
And then 57, 34 missed cut. So, it actually has made the cut here pretty consistently.
Yeah, 7 of 8 years.
Yeah, but his 2 best finishes the last 2 years, and that's kind of where we've seen like on his game, Dustin. So I agree. I think I'd rather take Dustin here than Bubba. Bubba has been playing really well, but Dustin played pretty well at the Masters. He's kind of been off since then. Just hanging with Paulina. So, but I feel like maybe he looks at this event more as something he can actually win now, especially since his kind of recommitment to the game. So I'm definitely in. Like you said, the price is the lowest you're going to get him at probably like ever. So until he turns like 45 or something. So I like it. I kind of like Dustin this week. The pricing is so soft too that you can mix in guys like that at lower ownership, and you're not going to lose as much as you might, because like I said, maybe his win equity isn't as good as other people in his range, but you don't necessarily need him to win because the pricing is so soft. So I like it.
It'll be a solid test of Secret Stat, because he's the number one. We always talk about the baselines. He's the number one baseline Secret Stat. Over a 2-year period, which is, that's to be expected. And then we go off of that. I have him trending upward, and he's 17% above that baseline right now. And I also have him trending up and above his baseline with the putting. So those are, I'm just looking at this, and it just looks very similar to other weeks where I've picked someone and they've gotten it done. So I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I'm thinking
interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we didn't actually talk about him before the pod. Like I just I brought him up, and but it's interesting that you're actually pretty high on him. So that's good info for people. Next question kind of leads into it. If you're going with one stud here in like a big field GPP for DFS, who is it? Okay, I mean, who's your one guy that you would roster out of like the top kind of 6-8 people?
I thought it was going to be JT, and it still might be, but I don't know. I've always had the argument with Justin Thomas where it's like, if he's firing on all cylinders, he is. And it's not like he's kind of just come into his own as like a pro that even if he's playing for the week, he still, ekes out a top 20 or top 25, whatever he did his last week. He didn't really have it, but he still had a good finish. So I don't think that's the ROI you want on him. I'd like to see it from him. Obviously, Day. If you go back to last week's podcast, he was a guy that I liked. Obviously, didn't love him enough to do much with him, but he was showing up in the right direction. So I think he'll probably be pretty popular after winning, here and then winning twice this year, winning last week. That's going to be tough for me. I don't hate Stenson. I don't know if you're counting him in that level. I mean, we have him in our first class. He's 8,800. I don't know if you were considering in that price. Probably not. I guess now that I look at it.
Well, I mean, hey, just give me one player. I don't even care about price. Like, the one stud, the one kind of like,
Well, I think. Listen, of the guys at 10,000 and up, I'm going with DJ right now. So I think I kind of made that case for you already. Yeah.
I might almost be there with you because I like today. Looking at them, it's just like Rory. I don't know. Like Day. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I know he can put together runs, but his iron play, man, like if he hits his irons like he did last week at this course, he might run out of balls, like seriously. And then Spieth, I'm kind of interested in. Spieth, I am. I know we just talked about the driver issue, but like all he needs is one good week, and the rest of his game is really set up well for this course. The irons, the short game. So I will definitely have some interest in Spieth, but after Spieth, I think it's Dustin for me too. Like I think I might lean Dustin over JT right now. So it's probably like where the decision will come for me. But
here's the one thing I'll say about Spieth. I was hoping that I was going to be able to back you because his game has transformed a bit. You know, he's more of he's really solid proximity. I was hoping maybe I'd see that the driving accuracy was improved, but I have him over the last 12 weeks, 92nd in the field. The one thing I will say is he doesn't miss left.
Okay.
And you don't need to only miss right here, but it has shown that is like the slightly more preferable side to miss on, and that's where he misses. He just leaves it out to the right. So, if he mixes in some iron play off the tee, some 3-woods, and then he hits some good drives and maybe loses only a couple of them to the right on the holes where you can, then yeah, maybe the rest of it comes together. I would probably say I'm there with you just in terms of what I expect in ownership. I mean, he has not been putting great. That's obviously people have known that. He should be able to. But off the tee overall, he is ranked fairly high. I mean, he's ranked 15th off the tee as a cumulative stat. Day, I would like more, but like you said, he won last week. There's going to be too much excitement about him, and I think, the numbers don't match up the same way they should for this course as they do last week.
And with Jordan Spieth, for me, like at the Players, I've literally since he finished 4th in 2014, every other year I've been like, oh yeah, this is the year Jordan Spieth's gonna get it down to Players. So I'm like the guy at the roulette table, just like doubling his bets on red every year right now, Jordan. So I'm probably just gonna talk myself into him by Wednesday. But that's because Anyways, that's where I am with Jordan Spieth. I do like him though. I feel like the Masters performance is probably giving him a kick in the butt. And plus, like, how many times in a row can Jordan Spieth miss the cut here? I mean, seriously, like, is he going to miss the cut like 5-6 years in a row? That'd be pretty crazy of a player with that caliber. So we'll see.
I would agree.
That's like the dumbest argument ever. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people shaking their heads, but it's true. Like, how many years in a row can he miss the cut? I don't know. Anyways.
No, I agree. I think that's. I mean, listen, when generally when you have the best players in the world, they all have positive cut making percentage. None of these players have less than 50% cut, averages at most courses they've played 3, 4, 5 times. So yeah, I mean, he's 1 of 4. He'd be going 1 of 5. Like, a guy that's won multiple majors, and he probably has a 60+% at every other course he's ever played ever.
Yeah,
exactly. It is weird. It's statistically it's an anomaly almost. So again, I don't know if that's an argument to play him, but yeah, it'd be crazy to see him miss.
Yeah, for the 4th year in a row, then it would be an anomaly. So let's get back to that last question before we just get into like general discussion. Who is the most out of form player you could see bouncing back here for a good week? So is it Noren? Is it Brooks Koepka? Hideki? I don't know. Ton of out of form players. I mentioned 3, but you can pick anyone.
No. I mean, those are basically the guys. I mean, I think I'd like to say Hideki, but I'm not sure. I mean, we don't have him we have him like top of the 3rd class.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. He's played it phenomenal here. It's just a great course for him. I mean, played her 4 times. Got an average finish of 17.3. So, 22nd, 7th, 17th, 23rd. Like, I mean, based on that plus the stats, we actually have him ranked number 1 in history, just because of the consistency.
Right.
But I'd expect him to come back because he's a guy that I thought would play better, like at Augusta. Koepka, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'm going to see a little more, and then Noren, so disappointing last week. So disappointing. I don't know what to say about that. I was not expecting that. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me had he just missed the cut, but like, he missed the cut. Like,
that's the thing. That is the thing about Noren. I mean, he I don't want to say he's all or nothing, but he's in form. He's like top 20 machine. He'll challenge for wins, but when he's not, it goes quick. Like it's not. He's not like a guy who grinds out cuts.
I mean, he
finished
10th in his one start here, but in our trend rank, I have him 142nd. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Last year when he came in, like he was in the final group at the Wells Fargo the week before. I mean, he almost won the Wells Fargo the week before, so he's coming in with that same kind of trend we saw early in the season. Now he's coming in off like two bad missed cuts. So I really wanted to bet him here, man. Like I wanted to just pound him here because I feel like eventually you will see him. Like this is just such a good setup for him, in my opinion. I mean, he's accurate with his driver when he's on. His irons are like, you know, top class when they're on. He can putt. But I don't know, man. I'm probably just I might talk myself into it if his number drifts to like 80-1 later in the week. But I will say this for DFS, I think most people are just going to be like, oh no, I'm not using Alex Noren this week. So I'll still have some exposure one way or the other this week because, like I said, I just feel like the setup here is too good. But yeah, there's not much trend. Not much in the trends to support an Alex Noren bet this week.
I think I am not ready to give up on. I give up's the wrong word because obviously he's been playing phenomenal and we liked him last week. I don't. And it's not even anywhere near the top end. I'm just looking at some numbers, so it came to me. Nick Watney, how exciting would he be to kind of come out and he could win this event? He's a guy we talk about being able to win. Hasn't had the best success here, but when he was playing well and he had those wins, had a 4th, had a 17th. I know it's just kind of random, but I'm looking at it and I didn't want to lose it in case we didn't get to it later. So he could be the guy that's like not a big name, but that could maybe win an event like this. What do you?
I like it, man. I mean, look, my biggest regret last week, I was telling people too. I was telling people in the chat. I think we talked about it on the pod. I'm like, Nick Watney's made like 8 cuts in a row. He's just hovering towards a good week. And for some reason, I didn't listen to myself. I forgot to bet him. I don't even know. I think I played him in like one DFS line. I might not even played him, to be honest. And I loved him last week, but I agree, man. Like he's still 125 in betting odds too. He's not going to be popular. People are like, oh, Nick Watney had his big week. It was Wells Fargo. He's played well there before. He has top 5 here before. He's got a top 20. That was back when he was playing well. He's playing well right now. Like and it's not just that he's bombing off the tee or something. It's his approaches. The one thing I'll say about Watney is his weakness is around the greens. So he's gonna have to have like a monumental week around the greens. But that is something that can occur, especially with a guy playing with confidence, right? So I like it, to be honest. It's something I'm going to look at later in the week or just as the week goes on. But no qualms on staying on him here. I don't think he's going to be like uber popular or anything because this field is too deep. And like I said, people are just going to kind of be like, okay, that's, you know, that was his big week, like I said. So I definitely think he's a player coming in, especially if you look at the trends of players who coming in who've done well, he's in that mold for sure.
All right, we'll jump back to up there. I just see he came off the page for a quick.
No,
second.
for sure. I'm glad you brought him up because I wanted to bring him up off the top because I was so mad at myself. I'm still mad at myself for not getting on him last week. But let's move back to the top and we'll just jump in with like general players because we skipped over like half the field. But I mean, okay, who just going off? I mean, we're talking about like core plays for DFS. Is there a guy who's just like a must play for you in like the 8K to 9K range? Is it Tiger? Like, is Tiger a must play this week?
I would not call him a must play only
No.
because I don't dislike him as a play or as a ability or form. I just, you know, he's only an event removed with the new irons. He's probably fine now, but that plus, you know, it was really interesting to see the putting kind of just go where it went. But other than that, I mean, I think if you look at the survival guide, obviously there's one guy in the 8 to 9 range that, outside of not having any course history, who's playing better or more consistent golf than the mad scientist? Yeah, I mean, who?
No one.
That's what I mean.
Patrick Reed. Maybe Patrick Reed, actually. Maybe Patrick Reed. But
that's true.
No, I mean, yeah, I get people's Bryson Love this week. I do. I guess his argument is kind of the same one I used for Watney. His around the green game can give him issues, and like you do need to scramble here. So that being said, guys can flip the switch and have like one good week around the greens. It's not that big a deal.
Well, here's the thing. I agree. So if you look at the numbers, he's 48th over the last 12 weeks, which, you know, the sample size we use in strokes gained around the green. That is his worst strokes gained characteristic. At 48th, we're talking.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about what happens around the greens when you're first in tee to green, first in approach, 13th off the tee. That's the thing. It's like, you know what? Maybe it's what limits him from winning, but you know.
Yeah, as a DFS player,
That's the thing.
no,
Like,
I
not getting up and
absolutely.
down doesn't make you double because you go in the water. You know, that's what I mean. So that's
true.
that's more of a
That's true.
safe concept for me.
Absolutely. No, and as a DFS play, 100% agree. Like he feels chalky, but he feels like safe chalk. So
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, again, chalk it to everyone is always, you know, well, I think people always talk about chalk. And we have this conversation every week. Like, it means it looks good on paper, but you know, you're gonna get burned. Like, chalk is not a negative thing to me because I don't understand the concept. Like, what chalk just means it makes sense. The price is good, so let's play them. Chalk to me, I mean, we should do a study. Maybe I should talk to the guys over at Fanshare that does like the tags. We should do a chalk tag and then look at how often a player who's considered chalk performs well or doesn't perform well. Because I would bet that more often than not, the chalk players do play well. It's just because they were chalky, if a guy doesn't play well, so many people like blow up about it.
yeah, absolutely. It's like the spotlight is put on them, right?
Exactly.
I mean, guys are chalk usually because of good reasons. I mean, it's the stats fit, they've been playing well, et cetera, et cetera. So, at the same time, sometimes the spotlight gets shone on the wrong people for the wrong reasons. But I don't think that's the case with Bryson here. The course history it is something to talk about though with Bryson. I mean, it is TPC Sawgrass, so I say safe chalk, I say good chalk, but really no one is safe here, as we learned last year. I mean, really, and I really mean that. Like, nobody in this field is safe from making the cut. Like that's how volatile it was last year. And it's probably how volatile it's going to be this year. So it's a great event because of it. But for DFS, just, keep that in mind. So I want to we talk about Tiger, we talk about Bryson. Phil is playing really well, man.
Yeah.
Like, is this the event Phil takes? Honestly, I'm kind of almost feeling that.
I don't have any.
I'm almost feeling it, man.
I have no issue with Phil Love here. I'm looking at the same exact charts that I mentioned. DJ, it's not as dramatic, but it's. I got Phil 31% above his baseline for secret stat, and it's not upwards, which I like to see, but it's upwards over a long period of time, and then it's plateaued. So again, I always talk about that term. If it plateaus above baseline, it's almost like he's setting himself a new baseline there. So he's striking it great. And the putter is phenomenal. I mean, he's sixth in the baseline we have for strokes gained putting in the field, and on top of that baseline, I got him 58% above it. And so maybe there could be some regression there, but Phil's always been a streaky guy. You gotta like Phil. You gotta like Phil here at 80. I mean, listen, I could put Phil. I think if you had Phil and Bryson, I think Phil's more likely to miss the cut, but
yeah,
I like both of them at 84 and 8,300. You put both of them in a lineup, like those are two of my favorite guys this week. Just looking at the numbers,
and I don't think most people are going to talk themselves into Phil this week. I mean, there's so many missed cuts on the field on his ledger of late at this event. 41st was his best. We're talking about Spieth missing the cut here. Phil missed the cut here 4 years in a row before he was T41 last year. Before that, T25, T33, all the way back to 2007 is only players win. But that's like his only good result. So I don't think many people are going to click Phil, especially with Bryson and Tiger in between there. I think he might end up as a fantastic tournament play. He's sixth in strokes gained approach on the year. Like that's kind of what you want to see. And you mentioned the putting. Like, I don't care if he hits it in the water once, because he's probably going to sink it like the 20-footer for par and save himself bogey or something, because that's what he's been doing all year. So kind of in on Phil this week. It's scary at the players because I almost always just cross his name right off, but not doing that this year.
He's another guy. He doesn't miss left, so or at least that's where he hasn't been missing recently. So I can get behind that. I mean, the accuracy is not, it isn't there, so it's not like he can say, hey, he's much more accurate this year, so jump on him. But he's doing a lot of things well. Ranked first in strokes gained putting over the last 12 weeks, 25th over the last 12 weeks in approach, 20th in tee to green. Strokes gained off the tee, 75th. Again, that is the only issue, which makes a little sense as to why he struggled here. But he's playing great, and there's no reason to think that this place will knock him down. Again, if Spieth looked like Phil's numbers right now, from what I'm looking at, I would be more apt to say, hey, you know what? Let's go with Spieth this week. And again, it's not to say Spieth can't do it this week, but Phil just looks like he's a different player than maybe some of the other years that he hasn't performed so well here right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it. I think that's a good way to put it because it lets people know how confident the stats you're looking at are. So, I mean, obviously we can come back to higher echelon players or if there's anyone you want to mention, but from the mid tier, like kind of we're talking like 8K and down. Who's your? I guess mainly the 7K range because I mean that's kind of the juiciest range. But who are your favorite couple of plays from there? I mean, I know I got a couple guys I love this week. One guy in particular, it's going to be maybe my biggest bet of the year. But who are you looking at? That's really strong for you.
I can give some of that love to Cantlay.
Yeah. Okay.
I can. You're saying in the sevens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the juicy range. It doesn't have to be right in the set, but the juicy range. I
mean, I think this is chalk if you want to talk about chalk, but Molinari.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not putting well, which does concern me, but he's doing enough well in the track record here. So listen, Molinari is one of the most accurate drivers of the ball at a course that demands accuracy. Grillo, I think. He disappointed a little bit, but I'm still there with him. And again, this is the kind of track I imagine he can play well on. Again, another accurate driver of the ball. Distance doesn't matter as much. He ended up finishing 9th last week, so he came back and had a strong weekend.
Well, and Grillo is not a short driver. Like he's accurate and like he's just a good driver of the ball.
That's true. Yeah, I shouldn't. He's not like a Molinari short. You're right.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, T11 too on his second appearance here last year. I'm all over Grillo. He's not the player I'm going to be biggest on, but I'm definitely betting him. 75 to 1. I already got that in. But yeah, I like Grillo a lot here.
I mean, if you like Horschel, who we put on the scene before he kind of started playing well. Obviously, he goes out and gets it done the last few weeks. He's there in the sevens. I mean, a lot of guys, and especially because there's big names in the sevens, like Bubba, I don't know that I like. Gary Woodland, I don't know that I really like. Poulter, good. Obviously he finished second last year. I don't know if he has what it takes, but the numbers look good there. I don't know.
Yeah, Poulter's kind of interesting. I mean, I kind of like Ian Poulter more when nothing's expected of him. I guess this is like the only narrative downside. Mm-hmm. Like people are going to expect him to play well because he was second here last year. He's playing well. I mean, people are probably going to be talking about him as a possibility to win the event. That's generally when Ian Poulter doesn't pull through for people. Like he likes to be like disrespected before he plays well, kind of, right? Like almost loses cards. So I guess that's like the lame argument against Poulter. At the same time, he's playing well, so I'm not going to like write him off because of that. But it'll be interesting to see how he does this week. But the guy I really like. I actually want to hear your thoughts. Webb Simpson, man. Yeah. Like people have been betting this guy at like monster golf courses. They've been betting him everywhere. It's 100 to 1. He opened at 100 to 1 this week. I think he's actually down to 80 to 1 in a lot of spots. But like, look, he's 5th in strokes gained approach last week. We've been talking all season about his putting better, and he's around the green game is great. He's got some decent finishes here. Nothing like super high, but this is the best he's played, the most consistent golf he's played probably in the last 3 or 4 years, especially since he's changed putters. So I have zero reason not to like shove on Webb Simpson, especially because, like I said, everyone's been so high on this guy of late, and I feel like now it's like this is the perfect time to me. I mean, his odds are higher. He might be a bit lower owned in DFS. Like, I love it. All over Webb Simpson this week.
Listen, his worst finish in the last 3 months is 37th at Mexico. Did finish 21st
T8 at
last week.
Valspar, T20 at Masters, T5 at Heritage, T21st last week.
The only knock is the putter is kind of average right now. But listen, I talked about him last week. I liked him. He didn't make much on the card because the number was a lot worse. But yeah, man, I mean, we got him up there. I got him ranked basically 10th in the trend on the secret stat. He's well above his baseline there, so I love to see that. Where do we have him in the guide? I don't think we have him in the first. I think we just have him in the second. Yeah, top of the second.
Yeah.
Top of the second class. I mean, 10th in form. Kind of some mixed results here. That's the only thing. I mean, he's 4 of 8 cuts here. But yeah, like I said, 13th in secret stat as a raw number. The trend is decent. He's 7 of 7 cuts, like we just mentioned. I mean, you could argue the finishes aren't as high consistently, but when I said who's playing as well as DeChambeau, I mean as consistently as well. Webb Simpson, 7 straight cuts. Worst is a 37th. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I just think, especially for betting, like for the number you're getting, you're probably not going to get a guy who's got a better chance to win at that price this week. Maybe there might be like 1 or 2 names. Maybe like Rafa is up there, but Webb, when he gets in the mix, he's generally a pretty good competitor. And I kind of agree about the form at this event, but the last 2 times he's played here, he shot 70. I think it's like 70 or better 3 or 4 times. He's just had like 1 blow up round. Like last year, he actually would have been in the mix, except he shot 77 round 3. His other 3 rounds, I think, were all under par. So it's kind of been a case of he's had 1 blow up round, but like he's actually shot some pretty decent scores at this course. So, and I'm sure you could say that about a lot of players, but to see him at least post consistently under par at this course is nice to see. I will say this: the guy tied with him in price, Charles Schwartzel, played well last week. Good Bermuda putter, good ball striker. Any thoughts on him? Actually, he was T9. He held on. I thought he blew up last week. No, okay, held on T9. There you go.
Sorry, who?
Charles Schwartzel.
I didn't. I heard the first. I didn't know if it was Charles because Howell played well. But yeah, Schwartz. I mean, we had some conversation about him on Twitter. I think the question was whether him or Louis were playing well, and they both played well. So yeah, he came out and played well. I mean, he's the kind of guy that you do expect to play well at a course like this. More known as a ball striker. Definitely on the up from where he's been earlier in the year, but he's putting well. That's the thing. He's actually putting better than he's striking it. So if he can come back and play well at a ball striking level that we'd expect from him, then yeah, I mean at 7,300, if he's rolling the rock, yeah, this is the kind of spot. Obviously, after a nice top 10 last week.
I think he's a player who could definitely challenge here this week. I'm definitely going to have some DFS exposure to Charles because I mean people forget he almost won the Masters last year. He was like 3rd. So this is still a very high quality player when he's on. His ball striking is really elite. The putter is really streaky, but he's definitely gained some confidence since Augusta. I like especially for the players. I like people coming in with you can see the confidence building. It's kind of how Keimer came in 2014. He made a couple cuts, had 1 high finish. That's kind of why I like Webb right now because he's been so consistent. Kind of why I was in on your Watney call too. But if you look at past winners of this event or even people who've just done well, it's either they've kind of done well at Augusta, taken some time off, and then just come in here and blitzed it, or they've played 3 or 4 times since Augusta and just sort of build up to it. So. I wouldn't forget about Charles this week. I'm definitely another player I'm going to be on. I wanted to like Cam Smith this week. His number for betting is awful, but for DraftKings, I still think I'm on it. I just like him too much as a player. What about just a lower owned guy in this range? For someone who's no one is going to use. I got a player I kind of like, but I talk about him too much on this pod already. But anyone for you popping up?
I was looking at one of you guys. Before we get there, do you think Chesson Hadley is going to be owned? Because he's interesting to me. Obviously, I feel like I talk about him every single week. I do not like what I'm seeing from the normal things that I'm looking at. But you just look at how he's playing, and it's like top 20 machine. He hasn't finished after the top 20 in over 2 months. It's like I don't know if you can expect that this week. I'm interested to see what people will do with him because the form looks like it's great. I mean, this 16th, 4th with the team event, 20th, 7th, 18th. That's your last 5 starts at 7,400. No one has a better average finish over the last, 2 months or so. But I don't love some of the things I'm seeing in the trend. I think it might be time for him to slow down. But I think he's a guy that maybe looks a little too good on paper. So it's kind of the opposite of the question you asked, because I don't have someone else, so that's what I went with. But
no, that's okay. I mean, I think I'm there with you on Hadley. If he's gonna be more popular than a guy like Webb or Schwartzel, I definitely fade him. I'm not sure if he will be necessarily, but at the same time, we're early in the week, and if people just start being like, "Oh yeah, he's top 20 machine now," he might get popular. So I kind of agree. It feels like he's maybe due for some regression. At the same time, the guy's been really good in strokes gain approach. I mean, he's fourth on the year on tour, so it's kind of a big thing here, right? So I don't know.
What about Duffner?
Duffner's interesting because when I was going through it this morning, I kind of said the same thing. I'm just like, what about Jason Duffner? I mean, can you not see him just lasering irons for like a few days here and just like getting himself into contention? Yeah, I know he's missed 2 of the last 3 cuts, and he was only T42 last year. But for a DFS play, yeah, I mean, he might be really low this week, right?
He's not putting terribly. He's obviously, everyone knows him as a ball striker. That's looking decent. It's not too exciting, but I'm just considering we're talking about a guy that's maybe not that owned, but has the quality, the pedigree. I mean, Glover always. I mean, I like Glover every week, obviously.
Yeah, I kind of like Ollie. I kind of like Snyder Jans this week. He's getting a little bit consistency going. He's not great, but he's a pretty good Bermuda putter. He's actually played this course a lot as a junior. I know he sucks off the tee. Like, it's going to be a thing this week. It might just completely backfire. He might shoot like 78 on Thursday, but if he can find the fairway enough, the rest of his game is consistent enough right now, like especially around the greens and stuff, that I feel like he could post a solid week. He's not someone I expect to win or anything like that, but I feel like he's making up for the rest of his shortcomings right now with like a really sharp around the green and putter and stuff like that. But I mean, for all his lack of high finishes, he has made 6 straight cuts now, which is kind of interesting. So especially from a player who lacked consistency last year at times. So I don't mind him as like a low tournament pick. Pretty volatile, but again, I don't think anyone's going to play him here. I think most people just picture him hitting balls into the water one after the other. So, but it's mostly just off the tee. I mean, if he can just find the fairway, he'll probably be fine here. Like I said, he's played this course a lot before, and he's had success like as an amateur. So I wanted to bring him up. But let's move down to like punt category now. Look, there's a player we talked about off the top. He's actually ranked pretty high in the guide. I'm looking at the guide right now, where I'm going to be. He is just below. Where is he? He's just below Paul Casey in the guide.
That's some good company. High. That's some pretty good company right there.
Yeah, he's between Casey, Watney, and John Rahm. He's 6,700. He's from Sweden. He's Jonas Blixt.
And he's a guy that has shown up in some big events. Obviously, the Masters spot. He's always played. He's had a couple spots there. So yeah, I mean, at that price, listen, I don't love him in the mid 7s, but in the upper 6s, I think you can build a lot of lineups with him. And he's, like you said, he's as high ranked as anyone we have at that price point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting. I noticed he played well last week. He was in the mix. I actually almost bet him in a matchup against someone. I think it was actually against Webb because the price for Blixt was so ridiculous. Webb was just this massive fan. I didn't actually end up betting him, but I noticed him, and then I started looking into it, and I didn't even realize he was top 20 at RBC Heritage. And then you look into it a little bit more. Jonas Blixt also, he's like a member at this course. Like, he plays this course a lot. So it doesn't mean that much, to be honest. The conditions this week are a lot different, obviously, and he has finished top 20 here once before. But again, this is the kind of event where you see people like Jonas Blixt pop. Like, don't forget Ken Duke was like T5 here one year. David Lingworth was like runner-up.
We had Ken Duke.
Did you? You were on Duke.
We were on Ken. That was like I joked about that for a whole year after, because it was like, Ken Duke, he's hitting the ball well. He's like 6,500, whatever it was, and it was kind of like a lucky half-assed call, but it was like I had to pick someone and throw it out there, and then it was whole big thing on Twitter. Like, we knew Ken Duke, and I'm like, well, we didn't. Come on, we got lucky.
Yeah. Well, Blake's gonna be our Ken Duke this year. Let's put it that way.
Fair.
But no, man, that Ken Duke round that year when I can't even remember what he did. He shot like 65, but the conditions were so hard. It was basically like he shot 59. That was ridiculous. Anyways, but yeah, back to Jonas Blix. He's trending a little bit. I mean, he's a guy who's a really good short game. The fact he doesn't have to, pound it off the tee here suits him. He's another player who's, he's not great off the tee, but his ball striking has been better the last few weeks. I like the fact he held in at Wells Fargo, man, a log golf course. I think that's a great sign. So he's my punt play for sure. I haven't gotten too deep in as far as other punt plays. Obviously, it's such a deep field. You got guys like Kazire down there at 6,800. John He at 6,800. His record here is like beyond awful. Like, I don't even know if he's ever made the cut here. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anyone else other than Blix or that you want to throw out?
I mean, Chad Campbell, if he can putt, which is always the thing.
Yeah. Chad Campbell is another guy. He just feels like that will just pop at this event one year, don't you think?
Yeah,
he's like he's got the Ken Duke, like David Lingworth vibe.
Other than that, like you said, Kazire, Harkins, guy that we've kind of like flirted with a little bit here and there. Don't hate that. I mean, Blix is definitely one of the stronger plays. I mean, he's a phenomenal putter, and at best ball striker. But that being said, he's I got him 58% above his baseline for secret stat right now in the upward direction, which is what you need to see with a guy that you're trying to take a chance with, I think.
I'll throw out one other name actually because I just realized Robert Streb.
Oh,
made the cut last week. Actually, didn't play too bad. People forget about Robert Streb, man, because he's been so bad.
Well, that's because when he made the cut last week.
Yeah, exactly. He missed 9 cuts in a row. But again, when the game turns, it turns, right? And I mean, he's probably coming in with a little bit of confidence. This guy's just a good player. Like he won an event on tour, obviously, lost in playoffs. I actually feel like this kind of course suits him better. He can actually get it off the tee, but he's not consistent. So he shouldn't have to, get himself in too much trouble. But people forget he's actually been in contention at major championships before. Kind of another just player who's popped up in big events before and maybe has found something. So 6,500, it's just another name I'll throw out there. Just another name that I feel like, for the players and how volatile this event can be, you could see him pop up, but you could also see him shoot like 90. So
yeah, that's
you're like, yeah,
beyond true.
Yeah, but okay. So anyone else want to talk about before we kick this thing off and wrap things up? Or
I think so. I think again, I'm looking at the.
It's ranks. Such a deep field. I mean, like we could literally sit here and talk about this for hours. But I mean, I feel like. What are your thoughts on Casey this week? Just give me some thoughts, just so I know.
Just so you know.
Just so it's on record.
It just hasn't been his course. Obviously playing, as good as he's ever played, so can't really say much against that. In terms of a trend, it's a bit downward, to be honest. I mean, the putter has been helping him a lot the last few weeks. He's not inspiring much confidence where I would want it to be for him to kind of come out. I mean, listen, I think this is kind of how I talked about him last time. You were interested. I'm like, I don't know, and he's kind of continued in that direction. So, at 8,900, I'm not as excited, and I'm sure the number is what it was, probably in the low 30s, upper 20s.
Yeah, I think he's still around 33. He might drift to 40. If he drifted to 40, I'd probably get some interest. But yeah, you're right about the course. I feel like last year he actually played well, and that was almost like as well as he's ever going to do, like a 22nd or something. So we'll see.
Like I look at Paul Casey and I look at Webb Simpson, and I'm like,
exactly.
It's $1,600 worth of value when it comes to DraftKings that I don't understand how there's that large a gap. And I'm as much of a Paul Casey fan as you are, so I'm not trying to hate on our guy, but it's like you look at Webb Simpson's current form, Paul Casey's current form, and $1,600, and it's like, it's like, come on.
Yeah, what are we doing here, really? Exactly. So No, I agree. Yeah, just thought I'd get that on record. So now I feel better about myself. See, that was therapeutic. So let's wrap things up though. Who you got? I mean, who's your winner here? I mean, we talked about the volatility. We talked about how hard it is to pick a winner, but give me who you think is going to win this week. Anyways,
I got. What's interesting to me is I feel like I've been taking better players when we have this conversation. I haven't gone too far off the beaten path, and I want someone. I want to go with someone this week that is that case. I mean, I'll give you the two. I think Dustin Johnson comes back to what we want this week. I'm going to go with what I was talking about earlier. I mean, I think Nick Watney is who I'm rooting for as like the dark horse. Like, what a great story because he's come kind of so far. But DeChambeau, he hasn't played here. So as much as I love everything, I think he finishes strong, but maybe just not enough to win. I think DJ adds another, feather to his cap and gets the players. I could see that happening. And I just wish that, a guy with longer odds would win so that we could capitalize on it. I'll be disappointed because I probably won't bet him. What's he like?
Right.
What is he at? What's he at?
You know what? I didn't check, but I will check.
I'm guessing maybe 14 is my guess.
He's up to 18 in some books, and you know what? That number might rise. Like he might get. I could see him rising to 20 by the end of the week. Put it this way:
if I have access to him at 20 on Wednesday evening when I'm putting out the bets, I'll tell everyone for free right now he will be on my card.
There you go. So I like that. I think at 20. I think I'd have an interest too. It's you never know with DJ, but I like it, man. I do. I kind of like that call this week. I am going to go. Man, I was all set to just say Webb Simpson. I kind of like Phil though, man. Phil is really interesting too, isn't he? Because he's another guy. Actually, his odds, I'm almost waiting to see if they pop because I think he's still at 33. If he gets to 40, I'd probably hit that. But I'll just say Webb Simpson. I really feel like he's a player who can get in contention here, and he has shown in the past that he can take down like a stronger field of events. So playing really well. Like I said, the trends look good for him. I like Grillo too, as far as another player we've been talking about. Schwartzel is actually piquing my interest now that we talked about him. As far as the top guys go, I think I like that Dustin call. Not really into betting anyone else, but Phil might get my money as far as like a top person too. But I'm going to go with Webb as my winner. We already talked about Blix. I'll be hitting up Blix for a top 20. He's my sleeper this week for sure too. Any other shout outs before we're done there, Steve?
Nothing too crazy. I won't mention. I mentioned it to you. We're going to be adding in one more tool just for some round by round kind of access. I don't know if we're going to have it before this week starts, but maybe towards the end of this week we'll have it just to test. So just put that little carrot out there. We're going to add another tool to the site that
another tool.
Yep, another tool.
To the 100 that we no, but there's a lot. But no, that the round searcher tool sounds like it's going to be really cool. Looking up specific rounds and diving into it. So we'll pop that out or promote it up as it gets closer. But for me and Steve, you can find us on Twitter at Fantasy Golf, at FG Metrics, on Twitter at The Fantasy Grind for me. Articles should be up for subscribers tomorrow, Tuesday, to talk about targets and stuff like that, and guys I like, profiling a few guys. But otherwise, it's been a long pod. You're probably bored at hearing me talk, so have a great players, people. Win some money. Post it on Twitter to us when you do. And talk to you again soon.
Take it easy.
Play on, play it, play on, play it, play on, play on, play on, play on, 'cause I like it. Right.